right, guys, welcome back to the Recovery After Party. I'm Joe Kekkema, and this is my co-host,
Eric Baker.
And today we have a special guest, Matt Kekkema, who is the enforcement officer for Swift and Sure, and he has retired as a detective in 2017 and played out 20 of his 25 years.
Hello.
So we've got some very, very good questions today for you. And now there's two parts to this because you were a detective and now as an enforcement officer on Swift and Sure and being an enforcement officer also in recovery course. So we're kind of going to jump around a little bit here if we're ready for that. I think one of the first questions that we want to ask is when you were a detective, what made you want to become a detective?
Well, I didn't start out there.
No?
No, no one does. So I was a third shift patrolman for a few years, and there was a big hiring rush at the Muskegon Police Department at the time. All those officers that were hired in the early 70s were retiring in the early 90s or thereabouts, and that's when I came in 1992. And so my seniority climbed fast. So I wasn't the new guy very long, and I think that assisted me in getting into the detective bureau, quicker, probably before I was even ready.
I heard you mention 1992. That's crazy. I was 6.
It means I'm old, I guess.
You're aging like fine wine, sir, so you'll be all right. So do you think that being a detective led you into being like an enforcement officer? Was there maybe that you had the street side that you wanted to kind of help on the other side, or what led into that, do you think?
I think it was probably more than anything just familiarity with the criminal justice system, how the courts work and how probation works and how law enforcement works, and just kind of a blend of everything.
So there's a few people like you, I'll say, that I'm very supportive of because I see you guys very much leaning towards recovery and things like that. Like I know back in the day when I was in my mess, it wasn't really as much recovery focused in law enforcement. So I like to see people like you and Judge Casel and some of the other Greg Belcombs of the world out here, and that's why we kind of bring you guys on here to kind of show our audience that it's not all about the stigma. Like, not everybody in law enforcement is out to get you. A lot of you guys are out here to help us be better people and kind of move on with life, and I like to really show that side of it. So maybe when somebody gets into recovery, they're not so scared to go talk to the probation officer. They're not so scared to go in front of the judge. I mentioned before on the podcast, like, if my probation officer called me, I am not coming in there, sir, because I know I was messing up. And I feel like if I was on probation now and I was still living in my mess and I had somebody like you or Belcom or Casel as a judge, I would feel a lot more comfortable coming in and saying, hey, I have a problem. I screwed up. Can you guys help me? And I feel like you guys would be 100% supportive there, yeah?
No, it's important. I think that I don't feel like I'm unique in that because from my experience in law enforcement for all that time, and I think most officers wanted to help people, even in their mess. I'll put you on the spot. When you were in your mess, was law enforcement the rival, or were they the friend or the foe?
They were definitely the foe in my mess. I sold a lot of drugs and allegedly sold a lot of drugs, and I did some messed up things. So I was always hiding from the police. I always had warrants, and I was always watching my back. I did have I don't know if you're familiar with Detective Robillard. He was a pretty good detective. I got along with him pretty good. He just, whenever he came and see me, I always remember him just looking at me and just shaking his head like, really, dude? So people like that I kind of connected with. I didn't really look at them as foes, but I had a different mindset then, you know what I mean?
Well, I think your experience with Roger Robillard was not unique or not uncommon. He's, I know Roger, so he's a lot like myself and many, many others, okay, where he probably saw the potential in you that you didn't realize you had.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that's probably the most rewarding thing, at least in the job that I have now, is help people to realize their potential.
And you get to see it. You get to see it unfold as they're going through Swift and Sure or recovery court and things like that. You kind of get to watch that unfold, them become, better men, better women, and reintegrate into society. So it's got to be a great feeling to know that you had a part in that.
Yeah, it's just hopefully you can, when it's done and they get to where they're trying to go, you can say that you played a role in it, small part.
So have you ever had anybody come back and like thank you or anything like that? Say, hey man, thank you for, being on me and staying on me and stuff like that. Have you had that occurrence yet?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What did that make you feel like?
It's good. It's just, you don't get it from everybody because not everybody succeeds. Not everybody makes the changes, right? And I know your co-host, and he's made the changes. But there was a period in his time while he was on supervision that he didn't.
What was Eric like on supervision?
He needed to be watched closely.
Yeah.
But look at him now, though. I mean, that's got to make you feel good, too, to know that you were there for that. And now you see him here doing the recovery things, starting up his own recovery house, getting into church and stuff. As in my job, I'm always a recovery coach at the end of the day, even in an executive director role, and I get to see that stuff unfold, too. So I'm very familiar with that feeling. It's very rewarding. I think it's better than any paycheck. I mean, don't get me wrong, paychecks are nice, but it's good to have that extra reward on your side, too, Well,
I agree. You guys are both, living examples that people can flip the switch to get their life back on track.
Yeah, it's definitely not an easy task, but it's well worth it once you get there.
And I remember you from recovery court. I think I was sitting in the jail, looking to I was doing an intake for a recovery court, and you and the case manager, I believe, came and talked to me and kind of explained what the process was. And I remember it was like, oh man, I got to explain like myself to this cop or whatever, and but I felt comfortable doing so, right? And getting into recovery court, that's one of the things that I think saved my life for a little while, that amount of accountability, with like the drug tests and, all the IOP that I was involved with. And so my question is, coming from being a detective, what had you, what was the opportunity that came to you, or was it something that you searched out for?
You mean in the job in itself?
To get into this field?
Oh, well, I was 50 years old when I left the Muskegon Police Department. I was too young to retire. So I wanted to do something, and it seemed like a good fit.
Yeah.
So it's a tie-in to what I did, working with people, trying to establish relationships, hold people accountable, be supportive, try to be a good listener, and understand what they're going through to help them. Because, information and knowledge is power, and the more you have, which you only get from listening, right? That's why the phrase about 2 ears and 1 mouth, Yeah. So, listen to, try to understand the situation, because as you know, being in recovery, every path to recovery is different. And so the more information that I have or had in that role is it's beneficial.
Okay, so if you were to explain what Swift and Sure was to somebody that didn't know.
It's a specialty court. It's a really more of a model. It's a probation model that's been around since, I think it came into Muskegon in 2014, but it was around probably before that. It was developed by a judge in Hawaii. And you've both been on probation, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you sign your orders, there's a series of point by point what you can and can't do, or have to do. And then when you don't do those things, or you get a violation, you go before the court, and you can get we call it a sanction, but we follow a grid. And so Swift and Sure is a program designed to, the ideal probationer in Swift and Sure would be somebody that responds to jail. They don't want to sit for, a 3-day jail sanction or a 6-day jail sanction or beyond. And what's unique about it compared to regular probation is that we follow a grid, and that the probationer knows exactly beforehand if they get a violation what's going to happen. So there's no surprises in it. And the agents and I think we do a good job of making sure the probationer knows exactly what's going to happen. And sometimes they even come prepared to they report, or they're going to jail. They come prepared. They have layers of sweatpants on because they know they're going to
extra
sit for
white
it.
T-shirts and
Yes.
yeah.
I was just gonna say that. I remember court dates going there. I can laugh about it now. 3 Michael Jordan white Hanes shirts. You could sell them for a couple pings allegedly, and get some pops in there or whatever. And so when you say that, I was definitely that guy. If I came to court, I was coming suited because I knew that I was probably not leaving. So
Now, is there different housing for them in the jail? Like, are they separate from general population when they go in there?
No, there's generally the sanctions are short.
Okay.
Like your first, we follow the grid. We follow the grid, and we kind of revised it back in 2021, where the judge had more discretion on the violations, and now we set it up so that your first violation is 3 days. So you would stay in the intake area the whole time.
Okay. Down in
in the holding tank.
Yes.
Okay. What did you believe about addiction when you first started compared to now? Is there any differences in it, or have you kind of always been one way supportive for recovery?
I've always been pro-recovery. I think most crimes are a result of, it's substance abuse. Greed obviously plays a part. Mental health plays a role, of course. But I would imagine that is the single most largest factor in crime and in recidivism.
Yeah, because the drugs, they rewire your brain to normalize things that are not actually normal, and until that fog clears, you don't realize that. So like, oh man, I have no money, I'm going to be sick in 2 hours, I'm going to go rob this guy, is a normal thought that you would have. Until that fog clears, you don't think, well, what if this guy gets rough with me and I hit him in the head and he passes away? You don't think about things like that. The only thing you can think about is to get that money, to get that drug, to get better, as we think that we are getting better when we're using. Obviously, we've proven that's not the case, but what are some common misconceptions people might have about Swift Insure?
Yeah, is it just for people that have like alcohol and drug problems? Is it for people that are on felony probation? Is it?
It's a felony probation program. Yes.
Okay.
If I had it my way, there'd be very few people that had substance abuse, but many of them do. Yeah. Because the reason I say it the way I just said it is because it's pretty much common knowledge that incarceration doesn't work for active addiction. Right. And our Swift Insure is set up for that's the primary sanction, incarceration. Mm-hmm. So the people that do the best in it generally don't have substance abuse. Now, we've had people that have went from one program to another. There's been people that have gone through both programs.
Is that the same as Exit? Is Swift Insure kind of part of Exit?
No, but we've had many Swift Insure people, probationers, participate in the Exit when it was around.
Yeah. So I did a presentation at Exit, 2 years ago, I think, and I met some pretty cool guys there, and they actually ended up coming to the center and getting help when they were released. So I thought that was pretty cool too.
A common misconception, and I probably, fell prey to it, was that it's easy to get clean.
Oh yeah.
I think I've learned probably more than anything how hard it is and how much work has to be put in. And there's a whole bunch of variables, and then to have sustained sobriety is even more difficult. I say sustained, I don't mean months or weeks or months. I mean years
and decades. Yeah.
And it isn't easy. And I think trauma plays a really big role. I think that and just in the last 5 years, there's been the push to get lived experience people involved in recovery. It grew and it continues to grow. I think that's a good thing. I don't feel that, because I was never personally a substance abuser, but I don't feel like I'm outcast because I'm not a lived experience person at all, because what I did for a number of years, so long, the background, they went hand in hand, so I understood it. And I've always been interested in people. You know, I think people are amazing, and just to hear stories and being inquisitive, you know, it kind of goes hand in hand. And so, you know, I felt I always had the heart to want to help people. So it was you know, doing what I'm doing, or even in my law enforcement career, it was just kind of tailor made for what I believe in and just how my personality is.
I got a question for you. So, what is the role of an enforcement officer? So, what are your day-to-day duties?
That's an interesting question, because in 2018, when I started to work for the county, the people that hired me said I was going to set the parameters for the job. And so I kind of knew, I smiled on the inside probably, because I knew that just kind of how I'm wired, that I would probably gravitate towards, you know, being a helper, in addition to obviously enforcing the probation orders.
Yeah, sounds like holding accountability.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Enforcement sounds.
Yes.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Yes.
Like, they don't show up, you go find them, type thing, or.
Yeah, there's people that aren't ready, right? They aren't accepting their responsibilities while they're on supervision, probation, and so they don't participate in the program, or they don't participate in their own in their sobriety. And then we're definitely going to start off on a rocky road when that's the case. It's easier to accept the participation and the effort, and then the mistake, or, you know, the slip up.
So I feel like you kind of got boots on the ground, and you see, you know, with Swift and Sure, a lot of the same stuff the recovery coaches might see. So do you ever run into it where you kind of get close with a participant, and then maybe they mess up or something, and does that make you feel some type of way, or are you like more depressed about it or anything like that? Or do you think that it's like, hey man, what the heck are you doing?
Yeah, as you get to know the participants, you know, you're disappointed, for sure, especially when they're making progress.
Yeah.
But again, it's kind of like the why before the what. You know, why did it happen? You know, what took you down this road when you were, for the last 9 months, you were, you know, no police contact, no dirties, didn't miss anything, on time, every time. You know, what happened? And so I think, you know, emotionally I'm not affected by it, because we establish the ground rules right away. You know,
These are your guidelines. This is what's going to happen if you do this or that.
yes. And, you know, and every probationer is different. Some come in with high school educations. They're employed. They have housing, stable housing. They have support, family. They can drive. And there's people that have none of those things. So everybody's needs are different. Yeah. So, you know, I use the analogy sometimes, you know, I think I kind of have a way of establishing that I can be a wheelchair to you for a block or two, but at some point I'm going to be a crutch, you know. And hopefully I'm to the point where, you know, I'm just spotting you from behind until you're steady on your feet, going forward, and then, well, hopefully walking with you.
I really love that analogy right there. I like that you keep saying, let's find out why, because that is like my jam right there. I've always, ever since the beginning of Samaritan Way, or anything I really did anywhere in recovery, I've always, let's find out why. Let's not kick them out. Let's find out why and get to the bottom of it and fix it. And I keep hearing you say that, and it just keeps resonating with me. Like, I like that a lot.
But you don't know why if you don't ask, if they're not comfortable to share why.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's important that there's a level of comfort with the probationer, as there is the case manager, hopefully even up to the judge. You know, it's either it's probably a skill. Either you can elicit that feeling from somebody or you can't.
What would you say to someone who thinks that they're too far gone to make it?
I would tell them not to believe that. I don't really believe it. I've seen a lot of people that seemed like they were far gone, seemed like they weren't redeemable, in the community, because they're living a life of crime or drug use or both, many times both. And, when they got sentenced, it was a case I worked or I was familiar with, wasn't a doubt in my mind that they needed a timeout, a lengthy timeout. And they got it. And so when there's interaction after that, MDOC incarceration, and I've had it, dozens isn't enough, okay? Probably hundreds of times. It's like totally different person. I just had it a couple weeks ago. I had to, a self-insured probationer had issue with employment, and his supervisor where he works is somebody that I had a pretty serious, investigation. He was the offender in it and did some federal time, and we saw each other, gave me a hug, he embraced me, he approached me, and I would have, it was a mutual, and we've talked since then. But
and that's what I was talking about, that question earlier. Like, did that make you feel good? Like, this guy
great.
didn't hold a grudge or nothing,
yeah,
It
was great. I texted him when we left. I took care of what I had to take care of, and I said how happy I was for him, and he responded right away. He said what it meant coming from me, because we go back to, this was the 98 case, and so it's been a long time, and he's been doing well for a long time. So it was really cool to run into him. But so to answer your question about,
what would you say to someone who thinks they're too far gone?
I don't think there is such a thing.
That's probably the perfect answer.
The process might take longer for some. A lot of the people that I've seen make these just miraculous changes, this is why I'm not anti-incarceration. It's occurred while they were incarcerated. Mm-hmm. Many times the MDOC.
Yeah, sometimes that's the best thing that can happen.
Yeah, it's hard to get people to understand the value of their freedom. And that's always a goal. As somebody that's, being this hamster on a wheel, they're just
stuck in that vicious cycle. Keeps building up and up and up.
But until they value their freedom, they're probably going to continue to, live on the edge and at the risk of getting locked back up.
Another question I had is with Swift and Sure, is it something that the person that's going to be on probation, do they have to be referred to it? Do they ask to be put on it? Do they have to follow like a particular bracket?
No, they have to. Are you familiar with the compass on your PSI?
No.
You need a medium or higher. There's low, medium, or high on the two categories.
So it's probably just below K-pop then. Yeah.
Well, to be eligible, you have to have a medium on your compass score.
Yeah.
One of the scores, one of the two have to be a medium, and then most people are straddle cell offenders.
Straddle cell, what does that mean? A full year?
It means that their sentence is
suspended, right?
No, it means their sentence could be prison or jail. Oh. Their guidelines. So their guidelines would be if you have guidelines of 5 months to 28 months, you'd be considered a straddle cell offender.
Okay.
If your guidelines were 0 to 11, you'd be intermediate.
Okay, so like I'm really familiar with the recovery court. I haven't only but heard a few things about Swift and Sure. What are the major differences? Like, I know recovery court has like built-in classes and different things that the participants involved with. Is there like classes that coincide with being on Swift and Sure? Is it just a sanction?
No, they're usually like the classes could be thinking matters, okay. MRT, domestic violence. Not everybody comes in with substance abuse, so some people don't even get assessments because they don't have a substance abuse issue in Swift and Sure.
Right.
And those are the ones that, we worry more about employment and transportation and getting licenses and GEDs. It's more easier to work with them because they're less occupied, because it takes so much to get clean and to go through IOP. There's some really labor-intensive work that the probationer has to do. And if they don't have substance abuse, we can focus on some of the other things that kind of maybe catch them up.
Barriers.
But I think most people want to do well. I mean, we have people that come in and they don't report once and they're gone in the wind, and we have to find them, and they'll serve 30 days for absconding, and hopefully they start fresh and ready when they serve their 30 days. But that's not always the case.
I like the like what it. I would say the word of it, like the theory of swift and sure, because me being on probation before or not being on probation, I think that, if let's say I'm on probation and I go and slip up, and I'm in a program where I got to meet up so many times a week, or I don't know if they meet up monthly, bi-monthly for swift and sure.
They report once a week.
But I hated going to jail. You know what I'm saying? So like when you're talking about 3-day sanction, like if whatever I gotta do to walk my probation down, or to be successful, they say walk your probation down. I think of like living life a little bit more than that now, but to be able to have that just on top of my over my head, I don't want to go to jail.
So you would be motivated to stay out of jail, and you'd be a better swift and sure probationer because of your dislike for jail.
Yeah. Nobody likes going to jail. And then if I mess up, then 3 days, and then the next time I have another opportunity to kind of correct whatever I had going on, which is great. That I might not be able to go out there and kind of make those behaviors a rhythm for long, because I'm just gonna get knocked in the back of my head is what I would call it, right? I think these programs are very useful. I tried to get in swift and sure last time. I got in trouble.
You didn't meet the requirements? Ooh, Eric.
I got denied. Well, I got denied recovery court, because I did it before, right? And they said that they wanted new blood, I guess, or someone that hasn't had the opportunity to go through the program, to be able to go through the program again. So, which I understand. I think I really appreciate the program that I went through this time. So,
what program did you do this time?
It was called RAP program, West Side Residential Alternative to Prison. But I think that one's defunded now.
Yeah, that's closed now too. We've used. You got.
What'd you say? Eric used up all the funding.
Did you feel you benefited from RAP?
I did 35 days there, and they defunded it while I was in it. Okay. You know what? What I did get from it was, because I've only done time in Muskegon County, so going through a program, going to Eaton County, it was like, okay, maybe this is going to be different, because I knew what jail has done for me before. I go in there, I sit in a cell, I read some books maybe, I play spades, I sleep all day long, and then I do that and just do that, and then I get out, and I go right back into the environment that I was in. So this was promising to me when they said, oh, you're going to go to the RAP program. I looked at I think I looked at my lawyer when they gave that to me, and I was going to start asking questions. I said, don't ask questions, just accept it. I'm like, okay, well, I'll do that. So I get there, and for some reason there was a mix-up when I got into Eaton County to go into the RAP pod, right, or the dorm. They put me in general population, and I'm looking around this jail. I'm like, wow, this is way different than Muskegon. You can't be in your bunks. You can't just sit in your room all day long. You're in general population with 80 people, and you got to just sit in the day room, and it's a jail.
Reminds me of the annex back in the day.
I'm thinking like
Dean County Jail is just like the old Muskegon County Jail.
Yeah, that's how it was in the annex when I was in the old Muskegon County Jail. You had to be up on top of your blanket at the very least. And if you got Dave, you better be out of that bunk, boy. I can't tell you how many times he got me sleeping, man.
But I was talking to the I found my table and stuff. It's like going to a cafeteria in high school, when you find your friends or whatever. So I sat down at a table and I'm telling them like, oh, I'm supposed to be in the rap program. They're like, well, you're lucky, bro. So I eventually get pulled out of that, go to the dorm, and they had curriculum. We had to go to class daily. There was cognitive behavior therapy. I think it said something about like K-pep. We got time? Oh, okay. But what I liked about it is that we were actually doing book work in there instead of just sitting there sleeping.
Yeah, well, you need to make the most of your time when you're incarcerated, whether it's jail or prison. I mean, there's...
that must be the loop I missed.
Yeah,
Dang
well,
it.
there's, it's that mindset when you go in. The guy that I facilitate this group with on Thursdays, he was rehabilitated the moment he walked in, he says. He shares it, regularly. And it's the only police contact he ever had. It ended in a 10-year incarceration. And he was, he was done.
Yeah, that brings a whole new
A
meaning
couple
to-
days into it.
Whole new meaning to go big or go home, because that's going big right there. First time 10 years. Holy mackerel.
Yeah, but he went on and took advantage of that time, and he accepted what I mentioned earlier in this program. He knew that life was going to result in him dying, living in chaos, being broke, being homeless, being addicted. And so his goals and his changed, established goals. Became motivated, learned what discipline was, had focus. Set priorities, and that they go hand in hand. Because we're not going to improve recidivism numbers. You can juke the stats, I suppose. Change them, but true people that 3, 4, 5 years after their family that got them in trouble, no matter what happened, no matter what their sentence was, jail, prison, probation. Let's look at 5 years after that event to see what they're doing.
And the idea is to change that.
Yes.
To get them off that, or get them in a higher trajectory.
Correct. Get out, stay out. Help people realize their potential.
I love that, because without programs like that, I don't know where I would be. And that's just the honesty of that.
Aww. All right, guys, I think that's going to wrap it up. Matt, thank you for coming on our show and giving us some insight.
Appreciate you having me.
And we hope to see you guys next time on
The Recovery After Party.